going pretty extreme today. We're happy for states, when they're engaged in big wars, large-scale conventional wars, to desecrate the sites, religious importance, to the countries that they are directly opposing within that war. We say they can graffiti them, they can piss in the fonts, they can remove icons, they can dance in the streets with the corpses of saints, just like in the Spanish Civil War. And we're going to show you, on this side, why it's legitimate. Firstly, I'm going to show you why it helps to win the war. Secondly, I'm going to show you why states that engage in war consent to this action. Thirdly, I'm going to show you why it is legitimate to desecrate these particular sites. And Lizzie, because she's so clever, is going to show you why, in the long term, it reduces extreme acts in war. That's Firstly, though, an important point of clarification. We do not have to show you that desecration should be used in all wars, in all circumstances. What we do have to show you is that it is a legitimate tactic in war which may be used if those countries want it to be used. But insofar as we're happy to accept this desecration, we're happy for it to be used relatively widely. So firstly, why does it help to win war? Well, firstly we say it demoralises the enemy. These are sites which do, for whatever historical and ridiculous division between sacred and profane reason, have some kind of importance to the societies that hold them. We say desecrating those sites, ridiculing those sites, dancing with the corpses of their saints in the streets, demoralises the enemies. It takes something which is at the core of many of those people's identities and says, we are going to attack it. You are going to be beaten. And that kind of demoralisation is incredibly powerful. Secondly, we say that it makes enemies who we are fighting focus on protecting those sites. That means they're less concerned with protecting their own forces. That makes it slightly easier to win the war. Thirdly, after we've desecrated them, pissed in the font and whatever, we said have to spend a lot more time defending those sites, spending their resources, ensuring that these holy sites aren't desecrated. And that costs them resources and time and logistical support. Finally, we say that in many ways, it undercuts a lot of the crazy, lunatic, extremist rhetoric within things. If you stand up and say, well, look, you know, the mosque is still standing, it hasn't been touched, that means God supports our cause. With the corpses of saints, we say God probably wasn't watching very carefully. So that's why we think it's helpful winning the war. Secondly, we say that states use these tools often as symbols of their war effort. When states choose to utilise religion to appropriate religious and cultural objects as a part of their war effort, they make those symbols and sites complicit in that effort. And they make the people who associate with those sites complicit within that particular thing. They consent to having those sites used as targets. We say the French used Verdun Cathedral as a symbol of the fact that the French resistance in the First World War was still winning, and the Germans decimated it and destroyed it, and it hampered the French war effort. It made it a much more difficult war for the French to win, which is of course why they needed us to come along and rescue them. Secondly, we say, even if the religion is not directly implicated within that particular warfare, we say often religious groups and extreme religious groups that are associated with these sites are often the most extreme advocates of warfare precisely because they do not have to go to war themselves. We're going to take an example. We want this to be clear. We're not being offensive, we just think it's true. That some of the most aggressive proponents of the conflict between Israel and Palestine are those religious groups who do not, as a result of having gone to rabbinical school, have to serve in the IDF. These are the people who are often the most extreme, and we think that it's legitimate, if this war is going to be a proper war, for those people to have warfare and destruction brought into their own homes, just as they are trying to subject others for warfare and destruction to be brought into their homes. So we think it's legitimate in that way. Finally, we say that the state and religious sites and religions in general are often intertwined with each other. They form an oppressive nexus. It's why Kropotkin said the world will only be free when the last king is strangled to death with the guts of the last priest, ladies and gentlemen. We say that these sites are a symbol of that religion. They are a symbol of that oppression. They are a symbol of that state nexus. And to target them is to target that state. They are part of it. Finally, we say that it's legitimate in and of itself. I think I might have burst my own eardrum shouting, so I'll quieten down. We say firstly that the significance that is attached is the same as any other particular site. The rolling fields of the French battlefields, the olive groves of Lebanon, the Westminster Palace during the Second World War. There is nothing which says, apart from the fact that people apply some bizarre, sacred, profane division, that these sites are different. Can you tell me why?
Many people put God ahead of their own life. Nobody puts the Queen ahead of their own life.
Oh, judges, you can take your own view on that one. We say that this significance is arbitrary. These sites are communal spaces. They are gathering points. They are points of memory. But these memory points are passing. That people still pray in front of the fourth wall in the temple in Jerusalem. They still find that site important. It's not lost forever. And that's what Lisa's going to talk about. She's going to talk to you about the transitory nature of these religious sites and why we don't obliterate them from the historical record completely. So we say that, firstly, that it's going to be helpful in winning the war. It's going to demoralise the enemy, and we say it's legitimate overall. The final thing I think we need to say is that what the opposition really needs to show us is why these sites are so different from any other site. When states use religion, or even if they don't, when that religion is complicit within state actions, why are those particular, why is that, oh God, how do I explain this? Why is it, just 2 seconds. We say that religion is often used as a weapon. It's often used as a weapon in warfare, and that's even when it's not used overtly as a weapon. Why is a religious site any different from an armoury when it's stocking up schools of young radical extremists who want to march into war? So, ladies and gentlemen, because we say it's going to win the war, because states are legitimate in targeting them, and because we can't see a reason why not to, we beg to propose.